The key was exactly where it had always been, under the ugly ceramic frog by the back step. My son made that frog when he was 9. Crooked smile, uneven eyes, paint chipped around the mouth. I used to laugh and tell him, "Honey, that is the worst hiding place in the world." He would grin. "Then why do you still use it, Mom?" I did not know it yet, but that frog was the last innocent thing I would see that day. 10 minutes later, I would be outside my son's kitchen window, listening to him and his wife plan how to take control of my life. I was not supposed to be there that Tuesday. My dentist had canceled, and since I was already across town, I decided to return my daughter-in-law's casserole dish. That was all, a mother returning a dish. But when I pulled into the driveway, my son's truck was beside the garage. He was supposed to be in Portland. That was what he told me Sunday when he kissed my cheek and said he had a week-long appraisal job. He promised he would call when he landed. He never did. I almost knocked, then something in my chest went cold. Instead, I set the dish on the porch railing and walked around the side of the house. The kitchen window was cracked open. At first, I only heard my daughter-in-law. She already signed the medical power of attorney, she said. The financial one just needs a notary. Once that's done, the house, the accounts, all of it gets easier. Then I heard my son. And if she starts asking questions? A pause. She won't, his wife said. She trusts us, that's the whole point. Some sentences do not enter through your ears. They go straight into your bones. She trusts us, that's the whole point. My daughter-in-law wanting control hurt, but my son knowing exactly how to get it from me nearly knocked the breath out of my body. I wanted to throw open that door and make him say it to my face, but if they were talking like that while I was alive, healthy, and still paying my own bills, I needed to know how far they had already gone. So I walked away. I drove 3 blocks, pulled into a dry cleaner's parking lot, and sat there with the engine off, my hands shaking on the wheel. My name is Harriet Whitaker. I am 64. I taught high school English for 31 years, and I know when a sentence is hiding something. That night, I opened the drawer where I kept my important papers. Then I found the folder my son had brought me 2 months earlier. The one he said was just in case. The one I signed over coffee and banana bread because he smiled and said, "Mom, this is only to protect you." I started reading. Page after page. Line after line. Then I saw the worst part. My son did not need me unconscious. He did not need me in a hospital bed. He did not even need me confused. According to those pages, he already had the power to step into my life while I was still standing in it. My accounts, my property, my paperwork, my decisions. And there at the bottom was my real signature. Mine. It sat there like a witness against me. That Sunday came back piece by piece. The coffee, the banana bread, my son turning pages before I could finish reading them, his wife tapping one polished fingernail beside every place I needed to initial. "This part is just standard language, Mom," he kept saying. Standard. That word felt poisonous now. The next morning, before 8, I called my doctor's office. "Has anyone requested my medical records recently?" I asked. "What kind of request?" "Anything involving my memory, my health, or my ability to make decisions." She put me on hold. When she came back, her voice was quieter. "There was a request 6 weeks ago from a third-party assessment company." My mouth went dry. "Assessment for what?" "Cognitive capacity." I grabbed the counter. This was not only about money. They were preparing a story where I was too old, too forgetful, too fragile to speak for myself. "Did you release anything?" "No, ma'am, the authorization was incomplete." I thanked her and hung up. 6 weeks earlier, I had baked for church, argued with the cable company, driven myself to the dentist, and beaten my sister at Scrabble. But someone had already started building a story where I was slipping. Then the little things lined up. My son saying, "Mom, you've seemed a little forgetful lately." My daughter-in-law calling every other day, sweet as syrup. "Did you eat lunch? Did you sleep okay? Did you remember your vitamins?" At the time, I thought she was being kind. Now I wondered if she had been collecting evidence. By noon, I drove to my sister Evelyn's house. Evelyn is 71, sharp as a sewing needle and allergic to nonsense. When I told her everything, she did not say, "But he's your son," as if that should make me blind. She asked one question. "How much is the house worth?" I told her. She nodded once. That single nod scared me more than yelling would have. "What do you need from me?" "A lawyer," I said, "not someone who will call this a family misunderstanding." Evelyn reached for her address book. "I know someone," she said. Of course she did. 2 days later, I sat across from an attorney named Margaret Bell near the courthouse. She was not warm, that was why I trusted her. When I handed her the papers, she simply read. Finally, she looked up. "Mrs. Whittaker, this is very broad." "I know that now." "Did anyone explain the full scope of what you were giving him?" "No," I said, "they told me it was just in case." Margaret did not comfort me. She started closing doors, first the power of attorney, then the bank, then the mortgage company. Then she turned another page and stopped. "Mrs. Whittaker," she said slowly, "did you know your son's name appears on paperwork connected to your home refinance?" I stared at her. "My home what?" There was my address, my mortgage company, my son's name. "I never refinanced my home." According to the paperwork, a refinance had started 18 months earlier. Then a memory rose up, my son at my dining room table with his laptop open, his wife behind him, a neat stack of papers between us. He called it a home insurance review. "Mom, I just want to make sure you're not overpaying," he said. "This could lower your monthly costs." I had thanked him that day. That is the part that still makes me sick. Margaret told me to go home and bring her everything connected to the house. Then she paused. "And do not tell your son what we found." That was the first time she said it plainly. "Do not tell your son." That afternoon, behind a folder marked house repairs, I found a large envelope from a lending company I did not recognize. Inside were pages with my name on them. Loan adjustment, equity release, disbursement, authorized representative. I did not understand every legal word, but I understood enough. Money had been pulled from the value of my home, and someone had made it look like I agreed. Then I saw the number. $42,000. I sat down on the floor because my knees did not trust me anymore. I sent pictures of every page to Margaret. She called back within the hour. "Come in tomorrow morning," she said. "Bring the originals." "How bad is it?" "Bad enough that I do not want to discuss it over the phone." By 9 the next morning, I was back in her office with a financial consultant. The $42,000 had not gone to my account. It moved through one account, then another, then into a company called Clearview Property Solutions. The company had been created 4 months before the funds were released. Its address was a mailbox service near my son's office. Margaret gave it to me in lawyer language, but there was no softening it. My son had taken money from my house. Shame hit me before anger did, not because of what he had done, because I had trusted him while he was doing it. Margaret must have seen it on my face. "Your trust was not foolish, Mrs. Whittaker," she said. "It was exploited." By the end of that day, my bank and mortgage company had been notified. No transfers, no phone approvals, no changes unless I appeared in person with my ID. I should have felt safer. Instead, every small sound made me wonder who already knew I had started fighting back. That Friday, my granddaughter had a dance recital. I almost stayed home, but she was 7 and she looked for me the moment she stepped on stage. For 3 minutes, I was only Grandma Harriet, not a woman being robbed, not a mother being betrayed. Afterward, my son stepped close enough for strangers to hear. "Mom," he said gently, "maybe I should drive you. You've seemed a little off lately." He said it like a caring son, but he looked at me like a man building a witness. "No," I said, "I can drive myself." For 1 second, his eyes changed. And I saw it. That night, I opened every estate paper I owned. That was when I found the smaller envelope. At first, I thought it was an old copy of my will, then I saw the word at the top. Codicil. I had not changed my will in 4 years, but this document was dated 8 months ago. Someone had changed where my house would go after I died. Not to my grandchildren's trust, not to my daughter, not even to my son. To his wife. The next morning, Margaret read it twice, her mouth tightened. Did you sign this? No. Did you approve this change? No. Did your son or his wife know how to access your estate planning portal? I almost said no, then I remembered being locked out of the website 8 months earlier. My son sat beside me with my laptop on his knees. Mom, he said, smiling, you really need to keep your passwords somewhere safer. I laughed then, I was not laughing now. By the end of that afternoon, my name was on more reports than I ever wanted to see. Fraud complaint, mortgage alert, bank warning, estate planner investigation. Margaret moved through it like a woman closing gates before a storm reached the house. Then she said the one thing I hated most. This will take time. When someone steals from you slowly, the law asks you to be patient while it catches up. But I did not have to be alone while I waited. That Sunday, I called my daughter Lauren. I had not told her sooner because I needed proof before I broke her heart with suspicion. Hi, Mom, everything okay? I looked at the papers on my table. No, I said, not exactly. Then I told her everything. The window, the power of attorney, the medical records request, the refinance, the $42,000, the codicil. Her brother, his wife. For a long moment, Lauren did not speak. Mom, she whispered, why didn't you tell me? Because I needed to know what was true before I broke your heart with it. She flew in 2 days later, hugged me in the hallway and said, I'm here. Lauren stayed 5 days, digging through bank records, login reports, and company filings. On the 3rd night, she put her pencil down. Mom, she said, Clearview was created 3 years ago. I stared at her. People don't create companies by accident 3 years before money disappears. I did not answer. Saying it out loud would have made it belong to the room. Margaret arranged the meeting the following week, not at my house, not at my son's, at her office around a conference table that belonged to nobody. My son came in wearing a blue shirt I had bought him. His wife came in behind him, perfectly dressed, calm as Sunday morning. Mom, he said with that soft, wounded face, we've only been trying to help. Help. That soft little word people use when they want betrayal to sound polite. Margaret opened her folder and laid out the evidence 1 page at a time. The medical records request, the revoked power of attorney, the home equity disbursement, Clearview Property Solutions. Finally, she placed the codicil on top. And the estate change uploaded from a device location connected to your residence. Nobody moved. My daughter-in-law's face changed first, only a little, but enough. I looked at my son. I want one answer. Did you know my house was being redirected to your wife? His mouth opened, nothing came out. His wife touched his arm under the table. Then she leaned forward and said very quietly, Harriet, you were never supposed to find that. The room went still. Because she had not denied it. My son closed his eyes just for a second. Then he turned to her and whispered, I told you we should have waited. That was when I finally understood. My son had not been fooled. He had been helping her. For months I had kept one small hope alive. Maybe he was scared, maybe she pushed him, maybe he was trapped in something he did not understand. But he had not said we should have stopped. He said we should have waited. That word took the last soft place I had been saving for him. My son looked at me, and for the first time I saw fear on his face. Mom, he said, you don't understand. After all of that, he still thought my understanding was the problem. No, I said, I understand now. His attorney leaned toward him fast and whispered, stop talking. Margaret closed the folder. All further communication will go through counsel. My son stood so quickly his chair scraped the floor. You're going to destroy this family over paperwork. Lauren stood before I could answer. No, she said, you destroyed it when you tried to steal from our mother and call it help. That was the end of the meeting, not with yelling, with a folder closing and my daughter standing beside me. The investigation took months, records were pulled, accounts were reviewed, Clearview was traced back to an account my daughter-in-law had opened years earlier. There were consequences, but not the kind that make a person clap. Frozen accounts, legal fees, a fraud record, a family that no longer believed their version. The $42,000 was not fully recovered. I still hate that. But Margaret told me something I needed to hear. Saving the house mattered more than chasing every dollar into the dark. So that is what we did. The codicil was thrown out, my will was rewritten from the beginning, my daughter and my grandchildren's trust were protected, my accounts were locked down, my home was safe. And my son's name was removed from every place where trust had once given him access. He received nothing in the new will. Not because I hated him, hate would have been simpler. I did it because love does not require you to hand someone the knife again after they have already shown you where they will put it. For 7 months I did not speak to him. His wife sent one long letter about pressure, embarrassment, fear, and how things had gotten out of hand. I read it once and put it in Margaret's folder. I did not answer, because forgiveness and access are not the same thing. My son came to my door on a Tuesday evening. Funny how life circles back like that. I saw his car through the front window and my body reacted before my mind did. My hands went cold, my throat tightened. Then I stood up, I opened the front door, but I left the storm door locked between us. He looked older, not just tired, older in the way people look when their choices finally start showing on their face. Mom, he said, I don't have anything to say that will fix it. No, I said, you don't. He swallowed. I told myself it was temporary, he said. Then I told myself you would never know. After that, I stopped acting like your son. That was the first honest thing he had said in a long time. His eyes filled. I'm sorry. I looked at him through that locked storm door, and I saw both versions of him. The boy who painted the ceramic frog. The man who helped turn my love into paperwork. All of that was real. And so was what he did. I believe you're sorry, I said, but I am not ready to open the door. He nodded. For once, he did not argue. I'll wait, he said. I almost told him not to use that word. Instead, I said, I'll call you when I'm ready. He stepped back from the porch. His eyes dropped to the ceramic frog by the back step. For a second, I thought he might say something about it. He did not. He walked to his car and drove away. I closed the door and stood in the hallway of the house I had lived in for 36 years. Everywhere I looked, there was proof that my life had belonged to me all along. The bookshelves Harold and I built, the photographs on the staircase, the years I had survived. That evening, I made soup from scratch and opened the kitchen window. Out back, Harold's roses were blooming again, stubborn as ever. For a long while, I listened to my own house settle around me. My house, my kitchen, my window, still mine. I used to think love meant leaving the door open. Now I know better. Love can be real and the lock can still stay turned. My son may come back into my life one day, or he may not. But I know this much. My house is still mine, my name is still on the door, and the spare key is still under that ugly little ceramic frog. Not because I forgot to move it. Because this time, nobody else gets to decide what that key means. I do.